Hey guys, my name is Sean Hiller. I'm a physical therapist and a certified strength conditioning specialist. Welcome to the Vulcan vlog. I'm here at Blackwatch Sports today talking with one of our coaches, KD, on the main movements that we train in Blackwatch Sports. These are the main movements that we train in our movement programs, in our strength conditioning lifting programs. We're going to cover all those movements and the nuggets of how to make these movements the gold standard of that movement to ensure that our athletes are staying healthy and also to ensure that we're going to get the maximum amount of potential out of their athletic abilities. So dive into the video. There's some great resources in here, some great education on it. Let us know what you think in the comments and we'll see you soon. So let's go over the deadlift first because it's the core of everything. So the thing with the deadlift, and this is how I teach it, is the first 6 inches of your deadlift here is going to look exactly the same as the first 6 inches of your back squat. Okay. So the first thing that has to move on anyone is the hips. In fact, if I'm teaching this, I'm going to push on somebody's hips and say, push my hands away and have them come here, because everybody wants to go knees first and they end up in this squatty deadlift, which is a squat, not a deadlift. But we want that barbell to rake the shins and rake the legs, and you're going to end up in this flat back position. The reason why I think in sports performance people like to train the hex bar is because you don't go so far here, you're more here. But the funny thing is, hop in here and try this, and I want you to really pay attention to your low back. Tell me which position you feel more load on at your low back. Keep hinging. Good. Now kind of fill that position out. Take a second, feel where the low back is, and now drop your hips a little bit. Pause right there. You feel that more in your low back? Yeah, let's go ahead and set it down. So that's the confusing part, is whenever you drop those hips, the low back is actually more of a fulcrum, and it can hinder the low back. So I like to come here first and then move to the hex bar. Get your feet underneath your shoulders, and then also have your 3 points of contact, which is your heel, the outside of your fifth metatarsal, and then your big toe. So 3 points of contact, and as I deadlift, I'm maintaining those 3 points the entire time I come down.
Like that?
Exactly, yeah. A whole lot of tension.
Yeah.
So the two things of deadlifting is shove your hips back, bring them forward, and keep your chest. So you can go put the bar down. This is a test when we're teaching the deadlift. It's, hey, come in. Hey guys, I want you to put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belt line. Can you bend over without your hands getting closer together or further apart?
Right.
If they can, then they can deadlift. But if they can't do it, then they don't know how to, exactly. They don't know how to control their core. Right. One of the best ways to do this is you're going to take that PVC. See how flat on my back it is? So if they hinge over, they start to push that PVC away like this, they're arching too much. Or if they're here and they come here, they're rounding too much. If you can do a hinge without that PVC moving away from the back, then you've got really good spinal control, and you should be able to deadlift.
Right.
That's one of the best ways to teach it. We hammer this. Yep, and then we go from this to the barbell, and we can move up from there. Okay. But perfect deadlift form is I'm here, I'm getting the bar in this setup position. I'm from the shin level. My knees are way behind really on top of my ankles. My weight is back on my heels. You don't want to lift the feet up, but you should be able to. And then from there, I'm driving my knees out as I come up, and on the way down, I'm still driving my knees out, and the hips are coming back. The whole movement originates from the hips, though. If I'm teaching a kid and they're trying to move their knees, I'm going to come up behind them and say, all right, push my hand away. You can do this. Yep, and that's going to give you some feedback to drive those hips back. That is the gold standard of the deadlift. Okay. So if we go into the back squat from there, everything is relatively the same. The only difference is I am shoving my hips back, and again, that first 6 inches should look like the deadlift. And then the only difference is now I'm really going to hammer driving my knees out. So I'm coming down to that back squat, driving my knees out hard, and then driving them out on the way up. That prevents that knee collapse. There is so much research behind how do you prevent ACL tears. It's incredibly inconclusive. But one piece of research people continue to come back to, and there's got to be a reason for it, is training external rotation at the hips. If we can teach kids to drive their knees out during a squat, that's training that external rotation type of aspect. You're trying to keep your chest up a ton You don't have to worry about that. Legitimately, you can come here. You ever seen the heaviest version of a back squat? If you see guys in competitions, they're going to do something called a high bar back squat, or I'm sorry, a low bar back squat. And the bar is literally on the bottom side of their traps, and they're already here. So when I go into this squat, see how hinged over I am?
Right.
That's actually the strongest position for a back squat you can have.
Really?
So you were trying to keep your chest up with your elbows forward.
Right.
Let your elbows stay parallel to your torso.
Okay.
And then we can drive back up. But traditional high bar back squat, which is really what we want to train, I'm here, elbows are going to stay in line with my torso, knees are driven out. I'm at the bottom, still driving my knees out hard. I'm going to come back up. We do want to shoot for getting into a full depth position for a couple different reasons. First off, there's good studies on this. If we don't ever use this range, then the body forgets how to lubricate that range. They go full depth, they're going into dry regions because the body doesn't know how to lubricate it. It's not strong there, it doesn't know what to do. So, and also during a parallel squat, there are tremendous, like exponentially more compressive forces on the knee than during a full squat. During a full squat, the femur, the patella, and the tibia aren't in contact at all. They're all floating. But during a parallel squat, they're all grinding on each other. So I'd rather someone's climactic point, the point where they shift the concentric to an eccentric, I'd rather that be at the bottom of a squat versus parallel. If you think about a sprint position, like when you're training it, dude, you're here.
Right.
That's a full depth squat. So generating power, I mean, when you're throwing that leg up, boom, I'm here, that is a full depth squat. So when you train the full depth, you're training all that. That's a full squat right there, baby. If you look at like a Jalen, that's how you just squatted is how Jalen Hurts squats, basically. So deadlift, back squat, those are the two big ones. Front squat is the same thing from as a back squat, but obviously we're going to run into some shoulder mobility issues with front squat. But ideally for a front squat, the gold standard, and we don't have to worry about hitting this, is a hook grip, and then you're into the front squat from the hook grip. Everything's the same as a back squat. Hips still go back first. So the very first thing that has to move, hips go back, going down into my squat, driving the knees out. All of that is exactly the same. So with the front squat though, what it's training compared to the back squat, the front squat is training far more your anterior chain, your quads, your ACL, whereas the back squat is training more of your glutes, your hamstrings, posterior chain, your decel. So that's where we want to focus. If we want to go quad heavy, I mean, what a vertical transfers to is a front squat. Right. Most of the movements we're going to do, your sprinting, jumping, anything really in sport, like it's all very front squat related. But the reason we train back squat is because it lifts your ceiling for absolute strength.
Right.
And then it should lift the front squat ceiling too. So, but front squat, we want to train a lot. But so the biggest thing here with the shoulders, this is, we can't front squat from here. We really don't want them here. We want them at least a little bit of a head, and we can work with this. But back here is not good.
Okay.
So what we have to do, if we have kids who can't do that,
I was going to say, what about those? Yeah.
I hate them because when you're in that position, you got a barbell hitting right here, cause shoulder impingement. It doesn't feel good.
It does not feel good.
I prefer if we have a t-shirt or a towel or something, and we're holding the bar like this, where we're wrapping it around there. So because we're still in the front rack, we just have a towel. And then over time, they can choke up on that towel and then eventually get a finger around the bar, then 2 fingers. The finger thing you have, I think you as a coach though, that's gonna be like, hey, you're here, this is fine, I'm here too, my mobility sucks. We need to try to train to get more here. The only thing I'm seeing is the knees, drive those knees out hard. And a good cue you can use for someone who's having trouble with that is when you go to squat, I'm gonna say squat, drive my knee, push my hands away. Yeah, push my hands away, push my hands away, push my hands away. See, it forces you into that hip external rotation. Look how much, you got so much deeper.
Deeper?
Yeah, dude, that looks really good. We've got the deadlift, which is almost fully posterior chain. We've got the back squat, which is 60% posterior chain, 40% anterior chain. We got the front squat that is flipping that. It's more like 70% anterior chain, 30% posterior chain. And then we've got our push press, and then we can do strict press and bench press. Push press is almost entirely anterior chain. Let me show you push press. So the thing with this that I think is really important to note with push press is it is a front squat. So like if you have a push press where you're here on your front rack, you're gonna be really limited. You want to actually push press from here, because that allows you, it's more about your center of mass.
Right.
So watch where the barbell goes when I come here. It gets a little bit further away from my center of mass. When I'm here, it's as close to me as it can physically get. I've got that bar trapped in the slot. So for a push press, it is a dip and a drive. This is the best vertical max trainer we have. So hips, so it's not a knee drive, it's still a hip drive. Everything operates from the hips. Hips are back, and then I explode. I can picture all these things with our athletes. We're gonna train them as groups in the first place, like telling them positions. We're gonna say, all right, front rack, hips back, 2, 3, explode. Boom. Like having the whole group go through that. But it's loaded in a full motion. It's gonna look like this. No re-dip. That would be a push jerk. Right. Really don't care about training push jerks. It's not gonna transfer super well. We'll take it from the beginning. I say, okay, front rack. So take it to the front rack. Dip and drive. Boom. We've gone from posterior chain to anterior chain. Strict press. I mean, the biggest thing with strict press that we don't want to see with kids, and you're already gonna know what I'm gonna say, we don't want to see, strict press, you're not coming from a front rack. Right. You're coming from a military position. We don't wanna see that. In fact, we can tell them to stop and just go down and wait. We want to see a good stacked spine the entire time. If we see somebody arching a ton, that's X-nay. If I see someone arching a ton with that, I may come up and literally like hit him in the belly. Like, hey, you gotta stay controlled, stay stacked, and then press overhead from there. Right. The one thing with this is I will say is on the finish position, we don't want this. I want that head fully through the window. We should see head, ears, everything through the window. That's the full lockout position. Up, yep, head through at the end. That's exactly it. That's exactly it, yeah. Okay. A power clean is a combination of the deadlift and the front squat. Right. The only difference is go to your deadlift setup, like you're pulling it from the ground. Yeah, that's the one we just worked on. Right. Go ahead and go there. If I am, this is just me, if this is my style, I literally power clean from here because I'm so posterior chain dominant. You might see people who are a little bit more here. Both are actually fine. I would like for us to train it more here because that's going to transfer over to more of our power sports. Right. Yeah. So, and you nailed that. That position is called triple extension. Yeah. Yep. Because and this is your plantar flex at the ankle, you're extended at the hip, you're extended at the knee, and you're actually retracted at the shoulder blades. That's the fourth. It's really a quadruple extension. I tell people this all the time. You are Batman. Batman can't turn his head. He can't look up and down. His suit's too tight. Wherever your chest goes, that's your eyes need to go. Right. Just like that. Set it down. Let me show you my clean. If I'm going to hit a power clean, I'm here. I'm hook gripping. You're going to pull 40 more pounds if you're hook gripping. I'm in this starting position of the power clean. This looks just like a deadlift. This is where I power clean come from. I'm coming up. The bar is going to make contact right through my upper thigh. And then after that contact, I'm in triple extension. I am going to, boom, reset. Show you again, so I'll do it in one motion. Very quick transition. At the end of that power clean, we don't want to come here. We want to throw it into that front squat. We want to capture the bar. So I'm here, boom. Elbows are forward, and I come up. These are Whole Food elbows. These are Walmart elbows. Everybody wants Whole Foods. I can say this, a lot of Olympic lifting coaches, and I would fit in this category, actually don't even teach contact. Really? So contact is really just it's a product of how hard you're triple extending. We really don't want to see kids triple extend here. That's not good. We want to go straight up and down. So it doesn't matter if you make contact, but you're looking for, you're up, and then everything else from here is you're trying to pull yourself under the bar to drop into that power position. So it didn't really, after that triple extension, the whole concept is I got to get under the bar. It's less about what the bar does. It's the only thing with bench press we want to watch out for, really, is we don't want to see this. That's the main thing. I don't really care, honestly, like the technical powerlifting standard is that butt has to be on the bench, feet have to be on the floor. I don't really care about any of that. My biggest thing is I don't want to see this, and I really don't want to see this.
What about the arching back?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. So powerlifters train that.
Okay.
If we got a kid coming in here, if naturally arching your back, I'm not worried about it. I'm
Right.
fine. If we do have a kid, if somebody comes in here and for some reason they're really doing that powerlifting arch, we got to tell them to stop because that's not going to translate at all to that boom, to that power we're trying to produce. It's not going to translate.
Like somebody who's like literally Michael Jackson, he on
Yeah.
his toes pushing up. I'm like,
Kill that.
Okay.
That's got to be done.
Cool.
I think we do want to keep. I think the two things we want to keep is shoulders got to be on the bench and butt's got to be on the bench. So if you're arching so hard that your butt's coming off the bench, then that's a no rep.